Thank you. Because I am very pleased to introduce our poet for the evening. Verlena Orr's poems have been published in journals throughout the country and in the United Kingdom. She's the author of 3 chapbooks: I Dance September Naked in a Dream, Woman Who Hears Voices, and One More Time from the Beginning, and 2 full-length collections, Break in the Cloud cover and Taking It to the Limit. She was born and raised rural, has lived urban in Portland since 1963, twice was nominated for a Pushcart Prize, and hails from Hugo Country. So maybe she will tell us a little bit about Hugo Country in her reading tonight. She has worked as a secretary, as a social worker, and I can add that Verlena and I, many years ago, were caseworkers together in services to children and families when Verlena was doing child welfare work. A grain truck driver, and more recently adjunct faculty with Portland Community College, and poetry and creative writer instructor in Portland's Talented and Gifted program. She produced a film, Sky Settles Everything, the Wayne James story, about her rancher cousin who has a family-sized cattle ranch, and she felt it important to document a way of life that is fast disappearing. She holds an MFA from the University of Montana. So would you join me in welcoming our poet this evening, Verlena Orr. Verlena, thank you.
I want to thank you for inviting me, and it's a program that is so kind to the artists that it's a real privilege to be invited to come read. A little bit, I'm a farmer's daughter, not the one that older people have heard about. And Hugo Country I was raised on the Camas Prairie, which is 1 mountain west of Missoula, Montana. And that was always kind of known as Hugo Country because he did so many of his poems on the places in Montana. And I was fortunate enough to have workshops from him, but I arrived at the graduate school the year he passed away. So let's see, I wanted to say I had a very limited elementary and secondary education, but in my first year of college, Emily Dickinson came into my life, and she had a poem that particularly spoke to me, and I used it as the foreword in the first chapbook, I Dance September Naked in a Dream, from Howlett Press. And I want to read Emily's poem, and you'll see, I think, those of you who know me and those who may or may not want to get to know me. I'll just read the poem. So, much madness is divinest sense to a discerning eye, much sense the starkest madness. 'Tis the majority in this, as all prevails. Assent, and you are sane. Demur, you're straightway dangerous and handled with a chain. Well, I was looking through the work. I didn't want to read from the books. I wanted to do things that perhaps people hadn't heard before, and sometimes I forget that I've published them, and well, anyway. I wanted to start out with my Thanksgiving poem. It's called Canceling Thanksgiving to Spend the Day Giving Thanks. I've put the word out to family. My luck too far gone to make the suicidal drive through hostile rain, dense fog, compelling lights of oncoming cars pulling me in like a moth. I'm not showing up this year. Canceling out, I'll miss strep throat, Aunt Frenchie's rummaging her bad memory purse for the name of a small town in Missouri, the men taking root in recliners, and the little kids running, scattering colds and fevers. Last year, when the hostess sneezed into the salad, the only other smoker and I headed outdoors to bet on how late the turkey would land on the table. I won my 20 riding on 4 hours late. Family custom forces one of the kids to mumble something about bountiful gifts before the plunge into the mashed potatoes. I really will miss the dressing, candied sweet potatoes, and canned cranberry sauce. My Thanksgiving begins before light arrives in the mirror, and I subtract back, do the math to what I'm grateful for. That New Year's Eve Idaho blizzard, ushering in 1939, Mom and Dad snowed in, embers flaring in the wood stove, and dare I say it, 65 years later, my welcome conception. And I had a partner I lost about 15 years ago, and this poem is dedicated to him. It's called Cannon Beach Before the Fall for John Poole. You and I loved the Hidden Villa Motel. Our white kitten welcome, we were happy with the cigarette-burned furniture, moldy carpet, green paint losing its hold. Hummingbirds drank from the nasturtium hedge, and we believed this was our run-down Eden with plenty of apples and no snakes. You discovered your calling one morning, began unraveling the Bible, reading the shapes of the print, the curved vowels, stiff consonant soldiers, the galaxy of white spaces. You called your father collect to share the good news you had decoded. I fashioned a poem, living with binomials, said there, I can do nothing but love you. We played frisbee until at last, a few feet from you, I could control that whirling universe. Last year, you went to the high heaven where all the good smoke is free. Now, November, I'm staying alone at the Gull Haven, smoking on the porch, watching the fog roll in. A fat orange tomcat strolls out of the mist, walks in my room, makes himself at home on my bed. This tired cat's gift for me, his satisfied happiness warming me all night. And someone told me, I think he's here tonight, that as we age, we get to lose fine motor control, which makes it hell to turn pages, I can tell you. But the library and the poetry committee did a broadside of one of my poems, and I'd already planned to use it because it's a November poem. And soaring into something clear in a dark November. All afternoon, the window stopped the starlings as though they had given up as birds. By dark, 2 feathers remained bound by blood on the glass. Determined birds, they tried to pass through something clear, as I wrote on the opposite side of the pane that made us believe there were no boundaries. We can't stop trying to break through, no matter how black November falls, no matter what. And this is a very old, transformed into brand new poem, The Final Flight. Pushed, tripped and fell, jumped from the dull drone of a single-engine plane. I named my beloved parachute as it unfurled its silk, seeking light in a soft landing. As I twisted through deep canyons of clouds, gambled on staying clear of power lines, then drifted down to the amber burn of winter wheat, its gold stubble ready to be plowed under in the fall. Now I've got to do some shuffling around here so I can figure out what I'm doing, kind of. Years ago, I think it was in 1980, there was a call for poems, short poems to be calligraphied and traveling as an exhibit to libraries throughout Oregon. I can't remember how many of us were selected, but I had a poem that was in that show. Not that long ago, I tried to find that poem and what happened to it, and I called Ingrid Wendt, but I say this if anyone happens to know what happened to the traveling exhibit of poems, and that was a long time ago. I think it was like 1980. But this is the poem that was of mine that was featured, and I don't know if it's my artistic vision or not. I sort of hope not, but that's what I call it, vision. I believe in the animal. I have seen hind legs splintered by traps, blind hearts limping forward in a jagged line, loyal dogs on steps of houses, hungry and cold. And I believe it. I believe in war. I have seen tracks, the spatter of dehorning blood, an arc on the side of a barn, shallow, dredged rivers. I have seen it, and I believe it. I believe in my canyon. I will tell you what I have seen. Sheet lightning of fear, hate in warmth, and a stone that is waiting, shining underwater. Still, there is light lying here today. I have seen it, and I believe it. There was a controversy about what memoir was. Oprah Winfrey drugged this poor man that had done this memoir, and she drug him back on the show because he'd lied. and then she brought some experts in from the literary community, really experts, and they very gently tried to say, well, a memoir is what you remember of your life or the story you're telling. And so I thought, I think I'll do a memoir. And so this is my memoir, and it's called The Story I'm Sticking To. It was when Clark Gable still gave a damn, and I had my corseted waist cinched into 17 inches, making my alabaster breasts, yes, damn it, alabaster, boil over the top of my black velvet gown, side slit from thigh to floor. We had no need to speak, as our fingers tangled in a love story of true romance from where we were to eternity. So, and I thank you. No, I don't. Apparently, I decided to have an interlude at this point because I didn't quite know how to fit this poem in, frankly, and it's called Interlude. Our naked bodies were dreams we exchanged because we forgot his prison time like a foreign country between us. He tried to forge a passport, shot pool for pocket money. As I set the table with candles and linen napkins, I lost my keys. Small change vanished. I found a pencil nub with no eraser. I can't change a word or forget a touch. What hunger I had, how he filled me. Now, I have a poem called Sometimes a Bass Player is Just a Bass Player. And my friends Ann and Rick have heard it so many times they now have it memorized. And Ann would say, "Well, you read that again," but it was with particular fervor. So I found this poem called "Closing Night" for the bass player, and he's no longer with us. Closing night. You play an uncertain pulse, and the flesh you wear, 3 sizes too large. I close my eyes, sing loud and off-key. We come from bars never closed, drank Olympia with our lucky strikes, all our moves muscular in back seats. Now old stars drop with alarming speed. A wrinkled moon staggers across its dark stage as night sags down. My joints rusted out, your swagger gone. Let's ignore that dreary background choir, improvise new moves, and keep going, keep on going, bone on bone. Well, I think this is too depressing. and I think this is too depressing. So I'll move to another theme. This is for my friend Marie that I still am friends with. We were in the same home together. And the title is Comrade, and it's for Marie, who signed herself in on Tuesday. Captured in our bodies, those stiff soldiers, we are spies, and this is war. Secret for secret we advance, agents of small constructions. Our facts are black dots inside the foxglove bloom, and the white centers of violet lobelia. We stalk in the small shoes we make from the flower of the bleeding heart. Drugged, we turn in a new faith. We sign duplicates of the old rules. Our bodies muscle their way into camp, torture us to join close order drills and parades, make snappy salutes. Sister spies, do you hear us? We are crossing the foreign borders of our lives. Well, this is for my friend Brent, who is also in that high heaven. Sunday visit with the king of my heart at the asylum. It's your turn to check in where your Visa card won't buy anything. You don't protest. Follow the rules, do your time. I too have done my time. It seems we assent and demur in tandem, believe we have divinest sense, not stark madness, even though we run amok on occasion. September, New York City is ours. You visit your personal shoppers on Fifth Avenue, repeatedly remind me not to let you buy a Chagall. I stick to designer knockoffs from street vendors, slowly stroll past Armani doormen, venture into Tiffany's to buy initialed note cards. Now, July, Oregon, we sit on the asylum's provided porch, chain smoke, pretend we can't see the Siberian husky running tightening loops on the groomed grounds, turning them to tundra. By nature, his feral heart and cerulean gaze, so beautifully painful, so out of reach, we can't speak of him even with admiration or envy. What lonely, I'm going to have a drink. My handy little vodka bottle here. What lonely can do. Teased from sleep by laughter below my window, I strained to hear what was so funny. It wasn't December's bitter cold at 3 a.m. What has come to pass as a lover? Frankie the cat opens one eye, goes back to sleep. I can only hear mumbling, a pause, then laughter as though buddies are sharing jokes in a bottle. Driven, I fumbled for my cane, made my way to the window. All I could see in the streetlight's meager glow was one man crouched in the stairwell corner, both performer and audience. He laughed at every joke as though he had never heard it, and each story was funnier than the one before. A little something for the pain. My future tense, melody torn, raggedy lyrics show up as I wait for the lost chord. I pretend a young man walking beside me into a Chinook wind. I like to imagine our fingers tangled, and only then can I forget the knives in my arthritic joints and fix up my face, plaster on a smile, and grip hard any hand offered. And Hubbub recently took this poem. I was very pleased to have it appear there. It's called Folk Wisdom. You just have to lick this thing, my mother said. Her voice, long silent, still stings like the needle jammed into the vein on the back of my hand. Your doctor just isn't doing you any good. Even now my chest tightens and I clench my teeth, start searching as a star would for a place to fall. You just have to make yourself go. I replace lovers, joints, friends, teeth. Knowing I can't be cured, I just want to feel better. Well, if one pill helps, 5 will work wonders. Still, I speak her dialect, carry genetics I can't ditch, with everything tempered by fire, by ice, by love. And now we're going to shift into some foreign land, Hawaii. This is called Letter to Roscoe from Lahaina. I'm rooted in a deck chair poolside next to a rose and scarlet hibiscus, listening to the palm trees gossip and spread rumors they hear on the trades. The recreation director has just apologized for the cold weather, winds from the north dropping the temperature down to a frigid 75. I want to tell you of the birds gathered at my feet, picking up my sweet roll crumbs as they keep a wary eye on me, their feathers arranged like fish scales, black beads for eyes, ringed with turquoise. I've learned they are doves, maybe here for Christmas Eve tonight. In shade, I tune in the chimes of this Pacific arranging its surf in an unbelievable dazzle. My God, how much beauty can one bear? I almost forget my mainland cold Pacific, its enormous, terrible sadness. Roscoe, it seems like you are on the other side of this island, running with the surf, free from papers burying you in eternal grating. This island might be yours, doves holding your gaze, palms urging you on, orchids blooming from your fingers. Last night I heard some extraordinary news on television. The newscaster reported a jellyfish invasion of 800, unusually large, 5 people stung, no fatalities. He said, matter-of-factly, these jellyfish show up on the beaches 10 days after a full moon. I don't know what to make of this, Roscoe. It seems to be an ordinary event here. Just as lobbies have no doors, nights are satin, and ginger grows wild. Oh, I did something very dreadful. All right, well, mumble, mumble, mumble. I want to... I wanted to read what so graciously was placed in last Sunday's Oregonian, and I want to thank them for that. I don't take the Oregonian, so I don't have a copy of the poem. If anyone does have it, feel free to tell me about it or send it my way. But this is called Breaking the Fast in Mazatlan. The waiter asked me twice if I was alone. Twice I said yes. But that was before the red-footed pigeon arrived. I told him he was handsome. I told him he was very brave. He ate from my plate. Americanos screwed up their faces and pointed. We didn't care. The pigeon stayed with me, maybe for food. I stayed out of love. Missing you in Maui, and this is for John Morrison. Up to my neck and alone tonight in jacuzzi swirl. The Republicans retired hours ago to count their money. The hot water is all mine. Poolside umbrellas tressed like misbehaved angels serve as lifeguards, turn in as sleeping geishas, hair in top knot, serene as tea plant protectors. Dawn, angels and geishas will go back to their shading day job. If you were here, we wouldn't talk literature. We'd lean back in our lawn chairs, eyes closed, silent. I would sport my trifocal sunglasses, your mouth would wear its Mona Lisa smile, and we would eavesdrop the whole day, doing our best to look harmless. And let's see. Well, I'm fumbling some more with this stuff. I have this poem I found in my notes, and Hubbub had written me a little note, and they said, if you would consider these changes, we would like to take this poem. And apparently, I forgot all about it, and I just abandoned it. And then I found it the other day, and then I thought, oh, I'm going to finish this. So it's now called Tour of the Home. I could be that woman tied in her chair, talking all day and laughing at the punchlines of the jokes she tells herself. When I'm in her chair, I'll be waiting for someone to feed me. They will coax me to eat a few spoonfuls until I clench my jaw shut and go to the level of tubes, drips, being changed and turned, as gravity drags me to dust and the metronome keeps time with its mean and horrid clock. The story you told me on my 70th birthday for Rick Bartow. A snail was beat up by a big slug with a mean streak. The authorities came to investigate, and when questioned, the snail said he couldn't remember a thing as it all happened so fast. Like my life has whipped by, in a blur I have now forgotten. And this is Rick Bartow has a band called Bartow and the Backseat Drivers, and I love to go there and listen to them. Right now, he's recovering from a slight stroke. The art is more beautiful than any I've seen. He has a show now at the Frolic. And he said he lost 50 years of lyrics and music, but he's just starting all over again. And this was published in Windfall, and thank you, Bill Siverly, who's here tonight. It's called Pilgrimage to My Pacific Lords. My back a mess, mind moody black. I haul heavy baggage to Cafe Mundo to hang with the relics, Bartow and the backseat drivers. I limp to a place to wedge myself between stage and table. As the band shifts and settles, the drummer makes a long sigh with brush on cymbal, and Rick begins to stomp out the rhythm with his right boot heel, and they all cannonball into Baby, Let Me Be Your Fool. Like Lazarus, my stiff body rises, hits the dance floor. I brandish my cane, prance and strut, Fred Astaire style. I shake and rock what's left, metal hips rattling like castanets. Hallelujah, I yell. Take it from the top again, honey, one more time. Well, let's see. I can't. I have all these birthday poems. I don't know why I got into the mode of doing that, but I found this one recently. Summing up at 73. I've squandered it all, even the loose change. I hurt, I grow old, and my sins are laid out like unidentified stiffs. My frown, permanent as a tattoo, teeth ruined for sanity fall out until I have a mouthful of partials and can't stand mirrors. All this seems to have happened in the time taken to feel a pulse. Only profanity or glittering generalities fall off my tongue, and my bones, like a red cedar corral, threaten to crumble even with nothing left to pen. Well, actually, that didn't turn out to be so. So, one more drink, and I think my back is going to make me sit down after I do this, and then I'll have a chance to visit with you or ask questions or answer questions. Don't let me ask questions. Okay. 69 and pushing on. My hazel eyes remain, right lid fallen, face in deep decline, a woman getting on and melting down. Still, I think of sin, but the sky blackens and can't remember its stars. I've mislaid all my moons, taken up eavesdropping, installed peepholes and deadbolts. A stray cat moves in. I keep a plug-in heater near when October shows up for my birthday. Daily, creaking out of bed, I limp into morning Prozac, drink a pot of coffee, suck down a fistful of cigarettes, and try to figure out the day of the week. It has come to this. Young foreign men sweetly lie. You look beautiful, the Persian cashier gushes. My passion perks up. You're gorgeous, honey, the Chinese house cleaner hisses as he dusts me off. I can't hear you, I yell. Just so he'll shout it again. Thank you very much.
Sit down and take questions?
Yes, I would like to sit down
Okay.
a bit.
We're going to try this then.
You want to?
Yeah, I think I can. Can we just pull a chair up? Okay.
That's
Here we go.
whatever works.
Here we go. Here. Okay.
That's Verlena.
No, I'm back here.
There. Now I'll just be here for a week or so. So, well, fire away. Anything you'd like to visit about or ask me about, and if you ask me what one needs to be a writer, I will say what I think I heard that Faulkner said this. Someone asked him, "What do you need to be a writer?" And he said, "A pencil." So I remembered that. Yeah, that's all you need, a pencil. So, questions? Yes.
Question. I noticed that I'm not familiar with your work, but I noticed that the poems that you read tonight have a great string of humor. And I know you made fun of yourself and your birthdays and that sort of thing. So, and you didn't want to read any very depressed poems, and I was kind of curious, did you have some dark humor in that, or do you write a lot that's very humorous?
Well, I have a lot, both, and sometimes a combination. And not all my work is humorous. For example, the poem I read about the metronome and its horrid clock, I did not think that was humorous. Although the audience, bless your hearts, found something humorous about that. And no, I don't know where that. I think that comes from what I read as a child, and it's not a very literary, recognized work. But Betty McDonald wrote a book called The Egg and and I read that until I had parts memorized. And her situation seemed to parallel mine. And she handled hers with a great deal of humor. And I think, if anything, that stayed with me. And I never know about that. I think one time Rick Bartow said to me directly, he said, "You're funny," and I didn't. I thought, oh my God, am I? You can't be funny just because someone says you're funny. You're supposed to say something funny, and you can't. So, I just take whatever comes my way. And I think I didn't purposely sometimes when I feel myself going away, or I feel the audience, I feel the pull away from the audience, and I think, I need to shift gears here. I kind of have a feeling that I've tortured them enough with this. We'll go on to something else. So does that answer? Okay.
I wanted to tell you the poem you had in the Oregonian. Just before I came here, I saw it online. They have it.
Oh.
I just Googled your name and there.
Oh, so I could just print it off. Well, thank you. Thank you very much. I have kind of a love-hate relationship with my computer, but I can do that. I can do that. Okay, well. Oh, yes.
How much do you read poetry?
Not very much. I've had this problem for a long time now of not being able to read. What I do is carry a book of poems with me. And I recently was able to read all of Lisa Steinman's new book. And so happy that I could do that. But it was because I was waiting in assorted doctor and dentist offices, and it's just the perfect thing to do. But I don't know what happened, but I can't read for enjoyment anymore. And I feel very badly about it. I've talked to a counselor about it, and he said, well, when you were growing up, you read to escape. You don't need to escape anymore. And I know I'm missing out a lot, but what I like to do is go to people's readings, get their book, and follow along as they read. And that way I can get a real perspective on what they intend the poem to sound like. That I'm sorry to say, everybody, I feel illiterate. In fact, I think someone told me that years ago that I was illiterate, but I guess I just keep going. But I applaud those who have read and do read and get so much inspiration from it, and draw heavily from their reading and what they learn there. And I applaud them because what I'm drawing from is usually life experience. So. Yes?
Well, you started with Emily Dickinson
Oh,
tonight, and
Oh, I was going to finish with Emily. Ah, yes, I did want to do that. And I know exactly the poem I wanted to do. Um, oh, thank you. Because I had in mind to finish with Emily. And okay. Ah, yes. Yes, I did want to have this as the last poem. I'll answer more questions, but I want to share this with you. Tying one on. High as kites, in our cups, 3 sheets to the wind. We weren't drinking liquor never brewed. We weren't inebriated on dew. We were knocking back double lattes and poems. We gulped language, totally parched, we stole from the best, pillaged, looted, and captured every word we could get our pens on. We pirated peignoir, stole salal, took off with a red wheelbarrow. Much madness is divinest sense was our mantra until we were reeling, loaded to the gills, wearing silly grins. I remember it started to rain, and we kept writing, neither of us with sense enough to go inside. Finally, paper soggy and limp, ink dripping into a blur, we called it a day. Pure debauchery. Emily would have been proud of us. I think you drove off in the deluge. I staggered a block, stopped to lean on a reclining wall of a gardener's garden next to a 5-foot-long green braid of daffodil spent foliage, and I noticed it was topped off with an empty pint of MD 2020 Orange Jubilee. Sobering a bit, I scrawled Jubilee to remember the flavor, then lurched on home, totally smashed, totally happy.